All right. So, welcome to the live stream. This is the second time today that we had to try this. And as always, thanks for being here because I haven't had too many live streams and, still trying to figure out all the kinks and everything in it. So, a great time today in crypto. We are down, but that also provides a lot of opportunities. So, what I want to talk about is it panic time or is it a time for opportunity? Where is the potential bottom for Bitcoin? Where can we go? We'll go ahead and take a look at that. We'll take a look at Ethereum. We'll look at some other things as well too. And any other questions as far as that goes. Maybe take a look at a couple of stocks related to crypto. That would be Hood and Coin. Again, if crypto pulls back in general, all assets are definitely going to be a buy, especially those stock related cryptos, because there are so many more eyes on those with potential buying opportunities. So those could be really good as well. So nothing is financial advice. Make sure to leave a comment down below in the chat if you want to be in the running for the $100 of Bitcoin. We'll try to leave this to no more than a half an hour. That way that you guys can go along with your day. And again, really thankful that you guys are here. So let's go ahead and take a look, and we'll review a couple of things that we talked about yesterday. But bottom line here, we want to talk about the Bitcoin chart. And what we're looking at is that weekly SFP swing failure pattern that we actually saw here in December and January. All right, it's pretty ugly, right? Because what happened was that price went above the previous local high. What we saw here, that was actually a green candle. But regardless, it wicked above. And in the next 6 weeks, we had red for Bitcoin. Now, will that happen this time? There's a lot going on fundamentally in macro. And really, it's to be determined because this week is a big week, as we talked about yesterday, that Jackson Hole, the Fed Chair Powell, will speak and really give us maybe a heads up of what's going to happen here in the next month when it comes to those Fed rate cuts, because those would definitely be a bullish outcome, even though you should not expect immediate response when it comes to the market, because some of that could be priced in. Again, we don't know yet because we haven't looked at what's to come here in the next 6 weeks. So Bitcoin, is this going to be a bottom here at the white checkered line? And no, that's basically what this breaks down to, is really an area of opportunity. And so what that acted as previously was kind of an area of interest. And so that was the range bottom. And if you notice that we went above the range top, swept that area. Now we're going towards the bottom. I still think that we can go lower here. I did say on a tweet earlier, and I said I wouldn't really be in a rush to full port back into crypto yet. Full port means going all in. I wouldn't really be in a rush yet. With FOMC minutes, jobless claims, Powell on Friday, a lot can happen. And so I expect chop. Definitely a bounce could happen after this pullback, but there's no need to rush. And that's what I wanted to tell you today. You don't need to rush. If you think that this is the absolute bottom, like that was it, right here, in that you're not going to get lower than 112, then okay. But I think because of not only the minutes, but with the jobless claims, you're going to get some whipsaw action here in the coming days. Wicks up, wicks down. And if you put limit bids in even lower, I think that you're going to have some opportunity there. Now, is that the absolute bottom if we come down here and sweep this 111? No, it doesn't necessarily mean that. What we want to watch for is what Powell says on Friday. That could actually lead to a massive rally if he signals anything at all about rate cuts. But we're going to have a little bit of a tease prior to that, because Walmart earnings, as I've said before, is something you want to watch. It means that retail is buying, they're spending money. A good earnings for Walmart says a lot as far as the United States goes. Okay, which will give you kind of a clue. Now, if you live outside the United States, it doesn't matter, because unfortunately, for some reason, everything seems to revolve around the Federal Reserve in around the US. And I feel sorry for all of you out there that live in Asia and Europe and South America and everywhere else, Africa even, I mean, Australia. You have to really watch and see what the US does as a powerhouse with the Federal Reserve because of the dollar. They have so much power in those central banks. And so that's what we have to watch Friday to determine what could happen. Now, I think when you zoom out here, I'll go ahead, and what you're going to see here is really this area of 111 to 109 could definitely be an area that you want to watch because that is where resistance will hopefully flip to support. And so, as I say a lot of times, a lot of TA is self-fulfilling prophecy. Why do people bid here? Because they think everybody else is going to buy there. And so you see naturally a lot of times too with the fibs and algos will bid in certain places too. So you have to understand that this is going to be an important level. If this breaks down, I could definitely foresee us going back down to 102-ish, okay? 103, 102, something like that. Now, a lot of people are asking, where could it bottom? And I think that there's a potential here. If we don't bottom here, if we continue down, then I'm going to bid again around 102. And if it does go below 100, I certainly believe that it won't be for long because you have to think that 100K has now created this psychological support for Bitcoin. Those round numbers. So 100K, anything below that looks cheap for the most part. A lot of people have looked at something called the support band, the bull market support band, which I don't really care for, okay? I know Benjamin Cohen used it. Really great analyst, by the way. I don't want to take anything away from him, and I don't want to be negative towards him, but I know that he does use it a lot. I don't watch a ton of his videos, but a lot of people will use this. Nope, that's not it. Let's go. There it is. Okay. So the Bitcoin support band, bull market. It is the 20 and the 21 SMA and EMA. And for the most part back in the day, let me show you guys this. If you're not OG, let me go ahead and do this as well. Let's go into a log chart because if you don't know about a log chart, you can see it a lot better. Now, if you take a look what happened. I'm going to take away the EMAs. So I want you guys to take a look at this. But you're going to notice that this bull market Bitcoin support band, the 20 SMA and 21, really worked very well as far as a support. Prior cycles, all right? It's a little bit more obsolete now. It just doesn't tend to work like it used to. So it worked really well. And it did also work really well when price was below it to signal a bear market. And then even in 2020 and 2021, look what happened after we had the deep COVID crash. Okay, I didn't know what to call that. COVID crash, basically. It stayed up above this band up until May of 2021, broke well below it, but the bull market wasn't done yet. And this is what I want to show you. What has been a better support level or indicator has been not this support band because Bitcoin went on to run to new highs. And then if you look here, we've broken below it quite a few times, especially last year. It wasn't a very good indicator whatsoever. Again, back in February, March. So what I'm getting to is I like to use the weekly 50 EMA. And if you use that and you compare that, okay, what are you going to notice here? Outside of right here, it did break below, but we did have the 200 EMA on the weekly catch Bitcoin, okay? But here, broke below a little bit. But the last two major dips that broke below the bull market support band for Bitcoin have been caught or bounced at the 50 EMA on the weekly chart. So if I were to say, how deep can now I'm not saying it's going here, but how deep can Bitcoin go before a bounce? is I would say you probably want to watch that level. Now, you don't want to hear this number of 94, 95,000 right now, but I'm just saying that if it were to dip, if we were to get some bearish news, and what if they don't cut rates in September? It's going to flash crash, and I can foresee even a wick or a weekly candle down here to the 50 EMA on the weekly, okay? So with that said, that's a potential opportunity for Bitcoin, one place, but it has held up really well. And let me show you this as well. If you look last cycle, look what happened. After that run up, look what caught Bitcoin. Okay, it did break below it 1 week. Okay, for a couple of days, it broke below it. But other than that, it just wicked below it. It never closed below it but once. Came back up, stayed above it. And it wasn't until the top and it broke back down below the 50 EMA weekly that we had the bear market. So I do believe if you're looking at indicators as far as where to buy, you know, if you're looking for how far can this dip, that's a better indicator. And that's my personal opinion. And you guys have a lot of opinions as well too. Thanks for sharing those. I can't necessarily read those at the moment as I'm going through here, but that's something that I want you to take a look at. But bottom line, 111, watching that area down to 109, breaking down from there, maybe 101, 102. There's other things that are involved too, right? You can look certainly at volume profile and looking down probably closer to that 102, 103 if we're getting a deeper dip down there. But until it breaks below this, I'm not really worried about it. You got to take it day by day, week by week, okay? So right now, kind of the zone you want to play in. If it breaks below it, it's a big deal. Could this be a higher low? It could. But why I say is take your time. Maybe you want to dip a little bit here. You want to DCA. Don't DCA up here. Don't wait until it bounces back to 120. If you DCA, if you're putting in and say $1,000 a week or 500, or you wait for dips, it's a dip right now. Regardless if it goes to 108 or 102, it's a dip right now. So a perfect opportunity for you to take that DCA time. Stocks today did bounce at the end. Not that we want to really care about stocks, but you know, it was a red day. That's a big reason why we had some Bitcoin breakdown as well. The correlation between stocks is still there. I know people want to argue that, but if the stock market nukes, Bitcoin's going to nuke right now. It's because it's been a little weak. And we discussed yesterday, why did Bitcoin break down? Because it needed to. There's not really any mass liquidations that we needed to happen. There's not really any major FUD that happened. It's because Bitcoin historically will break down 30, 40% even in a bull market. No, is it the cycle top? No, I don't believe it's the cycle top. People will say that. People have really said that here over the past few days. 10% drop, right? That's nothing. It's not a big deal. Your altcoins are hurting a little bit, but Bitcoin, your Ethereum, your Chainlink, some of these. Okay, here's the Ethereum chart. Not that we got to sit here and fixate on this either, but if we were to zoom out, what happened with Ethereum? Ethereum wicked into this probably supply zone, I would say, this profit-taking area, because that was where the previous high was at. So this is where this is where Ethereum found its high. It wicked up into there. We did not get an all-time high, but you have to expect after a multi-week rally, Ethereum holders are going to sell that. People who traded the dip down here to 1,500, you know, they got a 3x, which is phenomenal when it comes to Ethereum. On the daily chart as well, breaking down a little bit more. If I were to go to the 4-hour, again, this is where we had the range low, and I talked about this. Don't be surprised. We were at around, 4,300 yesterday, and we talked about don't be surprised if it breaks below that, below 4,100, sweeps that area. And so right now it did break below it, but with these lines, it just kind of show you, where the range low was. Here on the 4-hour chart, Ethereum has not yet bounced back. It's green. It's currently a 4-hour green, but we're only halfway through the 4-hour candle. But we'll see if we can get a bounce here. Bounces are to be expected, because naturally whenever you drop, 10%, 8% in a day, you're going to have a bounce. But potential for lower depending on, again, if FOMC meeting minutes says anything specific that's not good, that shakes people up, and earnings are bad for Walmart, which leads into Jerome Powell into jobless claims on Thursday. So you could have a lot of volatility. That, again, that's why I'm saying maybe dip your toes, DCA. But I mean, I'm not looking to full port into Ethereum or Bitcoin right now. If it does bounce, if he talks in a tone that they're going to cut rates and it starts to rapidly go up, then I can always buy more. Okay, so as far as this goes, notice as well too, volume profile can be a really handy tool as well. Basically just kind of shows you where key areas of business have been at. A lot of volume was there. So you can expect with this gap down here that is also where, if it does break this area of 4,100, I expect that Ethereum will go to at least 3,800, sub 3,800. And that's going to be an area where likely people place a lot of bids at, right? Really price searching for that liquidity, searching for those bidders, for those buyers. And I don't think you're going to find a lot of buyers between 4,100 and 3,800. It's just how it is. So looking for, if it does break down here lower, I'm going to wait and buy probably 38. Some people think as low as 35. Okay, so really 35, 38. I mean, if it ends up going to 5K, 10K, you're still in a good position. The only way you should be worried about the exact entry point is if you're high leverage, right? So 2-3x leverage, you'd have to pull back, another 50% or so 33% to get liquidated, and you probably not going to have to worry about that. If that's the case, then you're probably in a bear market anyway, right? So Bitcoin returns, how we doing? CoinGlass, great site. We're still up around 5% in Q3. That's because we had a monster last month, right? It was just a good month overall. 67% quarterly returns for Ethereum. Let's look at that. We haven't had that good of a return since 160 in 2021, 104 right in Q4 going it. So it's not since 2020, 2021 since we had something that monster of a year, of a quarter, in the year. So August red right now, again, for Bitcoin, for those monthly returns, that's to be expected. That's because we tend to be red in August. We tend to be red in September. So even after a monster July, we're in the red right now, and that's okay because we did expect that. But really what we're watching for here is Friday to see what Fed Chair Powell says. If we can get some good news, perhaps we'll get a rally here. Perhaps we'll get a rally going into September and then a market pullback around mid-September into October. That's what my bet is, but I'm only one person. The Fed Watch raised it today. I believe we were at 82, 83% yesterday as far as the probability for those Fed rate cuts. We're at 84% now, which that's good. I mean, again, 84.9, so 85% opportunity probability for Fed rate cuts. So that should, why is that good? Again, well, they cut rates. Money's cheap. If money's cheap, you can borrow more, right? It costs less. You borrow more. What do you do with it? You buy assets. What do you buy? Risk assets that go up because everybody else is going to do it. And then prices go up. So that's to explain why it's so bullish when it comes to these rate cuts. Again, market tops, if you guys have not seen, if you haven't watched the last couple of videos, I talked about the Bitcoin Quantile model because it uses extremes to catch those tops for Bitcoin. And unlike most top signals for Bitcoin indicators, this model actually caught the second top back in 2021 when really no other model caught the second top. So I do like this. Again, any model to show a top is a low sample size, right, with Bitcoin. But currently right here, this middle pink and green line is kind of the mid-range for this model, and as long as you're above that green line, it's fine, right? Below that green line tends to be a bear market or a new break below. We're right at the pink line, so we'll see if Bitcoin can go and continue to push up, because if you're looking at the peak level, the 95% level, that is around 220 to 230 potential for a extreme high, euphoric high for Bitcoin. And so eventually, I believe we're going to have a top, and Bitcoin is going to pull back quite a bit. Another significant pullback. And so that would probably put Bitcoin to hit over 200K, and then to pull back down to sub 100K, right? Which is pretty phenomenal. When last cycle in 2022, we had 15K Bitcoin. Would be beautiful to see that if you're a long-term Bitcoin holder, that Bitcoin never breaks 100K again, or if it breaks 100K, that it's only there for a short amount of time. Okay, so the only other thing I think, oh, by the way, to explain on Twitter, yeah, a lot of people were asking me what this meant. This is a copy pasta. So Paul G, back at the Pico bottom, at the absolute bottom in 2022, tweeted this exact same thing, and I retweeted it because it signaled basically the bottom of the bear market. It was the absolute bottom. So I figured, hey, if I copy pasta it, and maybe we'll get a bounce, right? Which it's just to meme. But if you're worried about me knowing anybody who considers who's convinced that cryptocurrency is going to have a systematic risk, I was just memeing there. So some of you guys caught it, but that's what I meant. Okay. So what else to look at? A couple more things as far as this goes. Yeah, let's go ahead and check this out. Look, not only is Bitcoin a great buy, Ethereum, Chainlink. I don't even think I looked at Chainlink. We'll look at that in a minute. But when it comes to crypto-related assets, especially stocks, those can be pretty good too. So Robinhood specifically announced that it's set to launch football prediction markets in partnerships with Kalshi, however you say it. Point being is that Robinhood is going to have prediction markets and is likely to continue to do that. And I think eventually you're going to see a lot of apps have prediction markets. Some people believe that this is one of the next big booms for a narrative. Even though Polymarket has been around for a while, they don't have a token. I can foresee Polymarket eventually having a token, though. We'll see. So if you haven't used Polymarket, if you are into prediction markets, gambling, you can say, I think Polymarket is something that you could use. It is decentralized. It do use crypto. But Robinhood is set to launch prediction markets with sports in their app to make it easy. And if you look at the Robinhood, it has really went up a lot the past year. A good dip from 117 to 106 here. And historically, we've seen Robinhood hit well below. So whenever there's a dip, we've seen it, it dipped pretty good, down from 60 to 29. So again, a dip to sub 100 could be a good opportunity for Robinhood. I do like Hood overall. I have not bought any yet because I've been waiting for the dip. So whenever I buy stocks, a lot of times too, I do like to try to get into stocks that I know more about. Robinhood, again, anything crypto related, I think will continue to go up, especially if they offer new and exciting products and services. So Robinhood is probably a good one to watch. It is pulling back. Not quite a buy yet. I think that eventually it can get down lower. If you look at the weekly chart, this is how scary this is. Look at the weekly chart, okay? This is the weekly 20 EMA. And so typically it's well and above that, which means it needs probably a bit of a correction anyway. Whenever you see price well above those 10 and 20 moving averages, depending on the chart that you're looking at, it probably needs a bit of a pullback. It did have that earlier in the year. It went up, 5x or so. Now it needs a bit of a pullback. So, I mean, if it does get down here anywhere between in the 80s, I'm definitely a buyer for that. And the only other one I want to talk to you about is which is Coinbase. And we know that Coinbase continues to grow and be big. Continues to put in on the weekly higher highs. Not necessarily higher lows yet, but I think Coinbase, if things were to pull back, as we've talked about with crypto, you'll probably find a low in between 220, to 260, something like that. So I believe that we'll probably see somewhere in this area for Coinbase. If you're a Coinbase holder, I certainly think that it'll eventually break new highs. So based on the market, if things go well, as we said, this is probably no different than crypto. I think Coinbase, again, is a buy. And why I share this as well, too, is if you know anybody who they don't necessarily like Bitcoin, they don't necessarily like crypto, but maybe they want some exposure, ETFs, all that stuff, but also, too, Coinbase, Hood. Those are good opportunities for those people who have, whether it's Robinhood, whether they have Charles Schwab, whether they have any other type of broker where they can buy and sell stocks. I had a friend who I told about Coinbase. He was not certain about Bitcoin. So I said, well, maybe buy Coinbase. And he bought Coinbase at $55. And he finally took some out when it hit over 400. So up exponentially. He's not used to those types of gains either. So he was pretty pumped about it. But he turned $5,000 into $50,000 or something like that. I mean, not quite that much, but quite a bit for him. So again, these can work pretty well, especially if you don't have a lot of exposure to crypto or want that. So we're going around 26 minutes here. Oh, and I froze. Oh my goodness. I froze. Can you guys still hear me? Well, if you can't, I believe that, let me see here. Yeah. So my picture froze, but the good news is that, I can go ahead and take that off so you guys can still hear me. And, with that said, I'll go ahead and draw a winner because that's about all I'll have to say today. Outside of Chainlink looks pretty good. Okay. And if it does dip down here below, 23, 22, I'm probably going to be a buyer for Chainlink. I do believe that, again, it needs a pullback as well. If you look at the monthly chart, I believe it's the monthly for Chainlink. Yeah, pull this down. It wicked up above the prior monthly. Okay, so it's probably going to be some profit taking here as well. So just be aware of that. If all of crypto pulls back, Chainlink as well is going to pull back. But I do believe that it is a great buying opportunity. And if for any reason we nuke, I'm definitely going to be a buyer down here on Chainlink. Okay. So especially if it sweeps below 20, I'm definitely a buyer. So Chainlink looks good overall. I can still see you guys in the chat. So thanks for staying, even though my camera froze. Unfortunately, that's, again, another tech issue that I'll figure out. But let's go ahead and leave it there. And let's go ahead and draw $100 in Bitcoin. So this is totally random. But you guys, too, if you're picked, you have to leave me a Bitcoin wallet. So I'm closing my eyes here. I'm sweeping through the comments. I don't know who this is, but let me go ahead. And it looks like it's Javik, JVIK. You're the winner. You win. You win $100 in Bitcoin. If you're still around, you want to make sure to leave me a Bitcoin address. If you, for any reason, don't see this, you can always go to my x.com and, as far as that goes, that's my x.com. And you can always go there. Oh, he said you're awesome. So you see me. So you win $100 in Bitcoin. If you have a Bitcoin address, make sure that you drop that below. I want to make sure to see that. If not, we can certainly get in touch on Twitter or X. because I want to make sure to give that to you. But that's something that, what you can do as well too is you can drop a comment in the comments below in the video. So not just the chat, but if you want to leave a wallet in the comments below, that works just as easy because you can comment at any time and I can get that. So that works pretty well. So guys, with that said, I mean, that's really it for me. The big thing is just understand the key levels for Bitcoin. And we're having a tiny little bounce here. That's fantastic. But again, there's too much that's going on in the market this week. We could definitely see a lower low here, a sweep of this 111 level. If it sweeps below that, understand that we could go down to as low, right? I mean, potentially this 108K level, but I don't believe that we're going to get an extensive pullback quite yet unless Powell really sets on the pressure to pull to as far as rate cuts. Again, if Walmart doesn't have good earnings, if the jobless claims, if they are like a lot of people have jobs and there's no need to cut rates, then again, it might be a brutal next few weeks going into September. So really that plays a big role in what's going to happen with price. But just understand where we're at right now and no, it's not time to panic. It's time to understand you have opportunity. You only have dips like this only so often in bull markets. So don't mess it up, okay? So certainly if you don't believe this is the top, which I already told you, based on the Bitcoin Quantile model, it doesn't show that we're anywhere near top. So anybody who says that they are, that's their personal opinion. It is what it is, but we'll keep rolling with it. All right, guys. So with that said, we'll have another live stream. I'll keep trying to do these Bitcoin giveaways weekly so that you guys can take part. And just my appreciation for you to say thank you for your support and super happy that you're here. And we'll keep rolling with this because there's a lot to talk about this week. I'll definitely want to create another video probably come Thursday after the jobless claims as we have those Walmart earnings, and then definitely on Friday as well. And then that way we can be prepared for the coming weeks for Bitcoin and what's going to happen as we go into September. All right, guys. So thanks a lot for being here. I'll see you on the next video. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And with that said, trade safe.